Merlin is the newest character added to Ravenswatch. He is easily one of the most fun characters of the game, but is a bit more complicated than the rest of the cast. In this guide, I'm going to talk about his kit and how it works, talk about the best use case for each ability, show off some builds, and then talk about all of his talents and what I think of them at the end. Merlin's trait is Celestial Potency, which is a passive that allows Merlin to conjure up to 3 runes of potency that are used when he uses one of his spells to enhance its ability. Enhanced spells will typically do more damage, 100% more damage per rune of potency, but some of them will have different effects that I'll talk about later. You are able to use his spells without potency, but they are substantially weaker. The trait also has an active ability on a 30-second cooldown, which will make you briefly intangible and conjure 3 runes of potency. His attack is a 3-hit combo that will generate a rune of potency on the final attack as long as it hits an enemy. You will interrupt your attack combo if you dash, so you need to do all these in one chain to get a rune. Now his power, special, and defense work differently, as clicking one doesn't instantly activate an ability, but instead brings you into a subset group of spells. Clicking power brings you into his nature spells, special will bring you into his arcane spells, and defense will bring you into his sacred spells. From there, you could click one of the corresponding buttons to cast the spell that you want. The nature set of spells are in the power category, meaning all of these scale with power damage from King of Clubs. The spells are Giant Brambles, Starfall, and Stone Shield. Giant Brambles does damage in a cone in front of you and gets more damage for each rune of potency. Starfall rains damage dealing spells from the sky and gets more stars with each rune of potency. Stone Shield will turn you intangible for the duration of the spell, then explodes, dealing damage to nearby enemies. It does more damage with runes of potency. The arcane set of spells are in the special category, meaning all of these will scale on special damage from Jagged Diamonds. The spells are Fork of Lightning, Fireball, and Frost Orb. Fork of Lightning channels lightning for 2 seconds, dealing damage to all enemies in its area, and runes of potency will increase its damage. Fireball launches a fireball that explodes on contact or after an amount of distance and does more damage the greater distance traveled. Runes of potency will increase its damage. Frost Orb sends out a tracking orb that deals damage and chills enemies. Runes of potency will increase its duration. The sacred set of spells are in the defense category, meaning they can scale with the Moonstone magical object super effect if you get a talent that adds damage to one of the abilities. The spells are Blessing, Light Nova, and Blink. Blessing grants regeneration to the most wounded nearby hero and does greater healing with runes of potency. Light Nova emits a staggering AoE that also applies a shield for 6 seconds if it hits an enemy. Runes of potency increase the amount of stagger. Blink turns Merlin intangible and teleports you a far range. Very importantly, this does not consume runes of potency. Okay, when are these spells useful and how should you be using them? Before going in depth on the spells, I want to talk about one specific talent that I think you should always pick when you see it, as it dramatically increases your efficiency in every single build. That talent is Grace of Heaven, which reads, casting a sacred spell, your defense, reduces trait cooldown by 4 seconds up to 7 at legendary. This might not seem too important at first, but defense cooldown is one of the best things to stack on Merlin, mainly because of this talent, his trait, and the damage increases that you get from potency. His trait instantly maxes out your runes, allowing you to cast hard-hitting spells, and this talent with defense cooldown allows you to quickly refresh your trait, allowing for a quicker rotation of max potency spells. Think of this talent like Murderous Intent on Scarlet or Acrobatics on Aladdin, but even more important than both of those. I'm not kidding when I say that every single build will benefit from this talent. For this next section, all these points are mainly going to apply to what you should be doing in Chapter 1, as your build is underdeveloped and each ability is relatively similar in power. In the later chapters, you should adjust to what your build is good at. Giant Brambles is your premier damage dealing ability in the nature or power section. You can hit a wide area and finish off big chunks of health from staggered elites if you are using it at max potency. I wouldn't lead off a fight with this ability unless you have the talent Brambles Whirlwind, because you'll normally have much better options, but it is great for cleanup. Starfall is one of the trickier spells to find a good place for because you generally have better damage dealing options, or you might want to save your power charge for Stone Shield's defensive capabilities. One unique thing about it is that you can cast it while moving, compared to most of Merlin's spells that lock you in an animation for a duration. So it can be good if you're not finding the space to cast Fork of Lightning or Fireball, but you need to do group damage. Stone Shield is one of the huge difference makers in making a good Merlin player or a bad Merlin player. It's awkward to think about an iframe by using your power button, then your defense button, but trust me, this ability comes in clutch and is surprisingly good damage. I really like Stone Shield as an entrance to your fights. When you're at 0 to 1 potency but your trait is available to use, run into the middle of the camp and wait for the first enemy attack animation, then pop your Stone Shield. This will bait every enemy to attack you while you're defended by Stone Shield. Then you can blink out of range from the enemies, pop your trait for max potency, and hit them with a hard fork of lightning to clear the camp. Get used to charging enemies with this ability as they use their attack, like Summoner's Twirling Tornado attack, to get easy damage and stagger on them. One of the best use cases, especially for my 5 negative modifier players, is to use Stone Shield at max potency when entering a ghoul camp to block the vomit and instantly kill all of the little ghouls in the surrounding area. This ability is key in keeping your damage up and having quick clear speeds in fights. Fork of Lightning is your best level 1 max potency spell to use in almost every single camp. This is what you should focus on to get quick clear speeds and save your potency for. This ability has a very high commitment to it though, and using it at a poor time can easily get you killed or waste your potency. Think of it kind of like Carmilla's power, where you want to bait the enemy attacks, get slightly out of range, then set it up for maximum damage. I talked about how you can set this up with Stone Shield into a blink, into your trait for max potency, then use Fork of Lightning, and that is something you should get really used to. Another ability that you could use is the stagger ability, Light Nova, to stagger pigs or trees, then use your trait and then Fork Lightning to chunk them for massive damage. Fireball is also a great damage dealing spell that does more damage the further it travels. At max potency and full distance, this will one-shot a healer in Nightmare, so it might be worth leading with that. Though I do recommend trying to avoid hitting just one enemy with this ability if you can. I'd also try to avoid using it on groups of smaller enemies like the biting ghouls or baby spiders, as it's not effective in taking out a lot of them and is better saved for grouped elites. If I have full potency going into a camp and my trait available to use, I'll also lead with a fireball a lot into an elite, then use Stone Shield to bait enemy attacks, then use Blink for spacing, then pop my trait for max potency, and finally a Fork of Lightning. Fireball is also great for sniping Dream Shard clusters to keep yourself out of combat. Frost Orb is similar to Starfall to me, where its use case is a lot less often than the rest. I find myself mostly using it in a similar fashion to Stone Shield, where I'm getting surrounded by a lot of smaller enemies and I can't find the space to set up a Fork of Lightning, or I'd waste the fireball on killing 2 little spiders. It has good enough damage for the fodder enemies that it can really help clean up there, or if you just have a mess of a camp and can't find an approach. But in general, I tend to use this ability maybe once or twice in Chapter 1, and then only accidentally in Chapter 2 or 3, and I promise you, you will do this. You can build around it, but it's a lot more gimmicky than the rest of his kit, and it's more for fun if you're building into this rather than for efficiency. Blessing is pretty simple. You have low health, use Blessing. Okay, there's a little more to it than that, as it allows you to take the Altar of Sacrifices really easy by using a max potency Blessing after it to heal close to full. If you're using the Grace of Heaven talent that I talked about earlier, you can also use it when your trait has a few seconds left to cool it down, to top your health off, then enter a fight with max potency. Light Nova is the other spell that I think will make a good Merlin player into a great one. This spell allows you to quickly stagger elites or mass group of enemies, stopping their animations. It allows you to keep being aggressive by attacking an enemy, then using Light Nova right before they attack to stun them and keep up the pressure. I love entering a camp with 3 runes of potency and my trait available to use by using Light Nova, which can fully stagger some elites, then using my trait, then Fork of Lightning, as the staggered elites have no armor and I kill them instantly. I also want to point out the talent Holy Fire, which adds damage to this Light Nova and applies Ignite to enemies. The damage scales with potency and becomes a very strong AoE. It's really nice against elites that spawn fodder enemies like spiders or birds in Chapter 2 to stagger them while killing the fodder. If you're stacking defense cooldown or charges like I suggest you always do with Merlin, this ability becomes very spammable to keep everything around you staggered while you clear them out. You can also destroy gargoyle statues in Chapter 3 with 2 Light Novas or 1 with max potency, allowing Merlin to make a lot of money in Chapter 3. Now Blink is arguably your most important spell to get used to, as it is your standard iframe and doesn't consume potency, but it's also a great movement tool. This, along with Light Nova and Grace of Heaven, are the main reasons why I say defense cooldown is so important on Merlin. Merlin is very position focused, and this ability allows you to set up your combos, but makes them even more efficient with more charges or cooldown. Blinking away to get a max range fireball, or baiting enemy attacks and then blinking away to get a Fork of Lightning off, or blinking into the middle of a group with the Bramble's Whirlwind ability and the Sacred Ground ability are going to be combos that you do over and over. His blink also allows you to sneak by some enemies that might have seen you, or sneak a POI without having to fight it. With this ability, you are constantly able to dictate the direction of damage coming from enemies and constantly make sure that you are not in that position to be hit. It is so good. A lot of characters in Ravenswatch have a pretty stagnant defense ability, and moving ones are generally better, like Melusine or Aladdin, that allow you for better positioning. This positioning is quicker, basically instantaneous compared to those other ones, and allows you to instantly set up damage. It is one of the best defenses in the game. Now his first ultimate is Standing Stone, which summons a giant stone that draws enemy aggro. It passively loses health and can take health damage from enemies, and at 0 it explodes, dealing area damage. This is a great ultimate for crowded encounters, but it takes a long time to summon, so don't ever use this as a panic button. If you're ever taking on a Leprechaun Cauldron, this is also really good to spawn as soon as you start seeing enemies spawn, and then go attack the other side of enemies that are spawning, as this handles whatever side you spawned it on. The second ultimate is Forbidden Spells, which works like one of your abilities where you get a choice of 3. Cataclysm is connected to the power input and summons a giant meteor from the sky, which you can move around for a little bit before it hits. Similar to the stone, it takes a while to use this, so don't use this while enemies are targeting you. I found that you can sit at the edge of a camp and use this while moving the meteor towards the center of a camp and instantly get a clear, barring some elites. Unholy Strikes is connected to the special input and makes the next 6 attacks send out a damage dealing projectile that, if it touches an enemy, generates a Rune of Potency. I find this to be the better ability when it comes to boss DPS phases, as you can cycle through 2 full potency spells during a stagger phase, maybe 3 if your trait is available, which should do more damage than the meteor due to its long cast time. The last one is Blood Ritual, which is connected to your defense input and sacrifices your health down to 25% and revives and heals nearby heroes for 200% of the health you lost. Nearby enemies also take damage equal to 10 times the amount of health that you lost. Now, I received Merlin early, so I haven't tried co-op with him yet, but an instant revive is an instant revive. That's pretty good. Damage also scales with the amount of health that you lost. So if you were using something like Philosopher's Stone and were at max health, I could imagine this being a lot of damage. This next section is going to cover 3 builds that I have found to be incredibly successful and rewarding to play. The starting talent for all these builds will be Runic Might, as I found it to be the most beneficial talent, but Astrology can also be used if you want the extra rerolls. The other 2 starting talents are a lot more demanding and niche, but they do have their benefits. The first build is my Ancestral Druid build, which excels in burst AoE damage as well as damage over time from bleed. Core talents for this build, in the order I would want to see them, are Runic Might, Bramble Whirlwind, Grace of Heaven, Sacred Ground, Sacred Strike, Wild Magic, Celestial Wrath, and Freezing Stones. If you get it in this order, level 2 you will have Bramble's Whirlwind, which causes your brambles to do a giant AoE attack all around you. At level 3, Grace of Heaven will help cool down your trait, allowing you to use max potency giant brambles more often. At level 4, you will have Sacred Ground, which makes a sacred area appear on the ground for 5 seconds after you use Blink that gives you 40 more damage or 70 more damage at Legendary if you are in the zone. Now you will blink into the middle of a camp and use giant brambles with max potency for 70% more damage. At level 6, you will get Sacred Strike, which makes your next attack after a defense be a finisher, giving you a Rune of Potency, and it deals a lot more damage. Get used to using Blink, then Brambles, then attack with Sacred Strike, not Sacred Strike before Giant Brambles. At level 7, you will get Wild Magic, which reads, after using a nature spell, the next 3 attacks also project thorns, dealing a lot more damage as Bleed. Unlike Scarlet, this Bleed is incredibly potent and stacks with Sacred Strike, so your combo is now Blink into a group of enemies, Giant Bramble to activate Wild Magic, then Sacred Strike will now have the bleed effect from Wild Magic. Try to make sure you are staying in the Sacred Ground with this attack. I have seen this bleed kill fully corrupted Elite Gnolls in Chapter 2 and the fully corrupted Purple Djinns. At level 8, you will pick up Celestial Wrath, which makes your trait trigger lightning strikes on groups of enemies. If you've been stacking defense cooldown with Grace of Heaven, you will do this very often. Now for max efficiency, you will use Blink, then trait for Celestial Wrath while in your Sacred Ground, then Giant Brambles, then attack with Sacred Strike, which will now be hitting pretty much nothing, as most things will die from this combo. Lastly, I have Freezing Stones because it stacks with power damage, which you might have a lot of, and it is still a pretty good ability. You can swap this out for Holy Fire if you want damage on your Light Nova, or Natural Harmony for heals on your nature abilities. For magical objects, I would look for Ace of Spades and King of Clubs, and Joker card to further those boosts. Defense cooldown and charges to keep Blink active and lower your trait cooldown, and Father Time's Hourglass for lower defense and power cooldown. With this build, you will fly around the battlefield doing giant AoE attacks, and anything that lives will be hit with a Sacred Strike powered by Wild Magic's Bleed. My next build is the Fire Lord Ozai build, where you'll be spamming fire and lightning damage. The core talents for this build in the order that I would want to see them are Runic Might, Lightning Storm, Grace of Heaven, Sacred Ground, Arcanic Rune, Fire Barrage, Arcane Shield, and Celestial Wrath. If you get it in this order, then you will have Lightning Storm at level 2, which reads every 4 times the Fork of Lightning hits an enemy, lightning will hit a nearby enemy dealing damage. If you can set yourself up with multiple enemies at once, you will have a lot of lightning bolts constantly proccing, and you can clear camps with one use of this ability. Level 3 and 4 are pretty similar with Grace of Heaven and Sacred Ground. This is where my tip from Stone Shield comes into use. You should enter camps here with Stone Shield to trigger enemies' attacks, then blink out so you're in your Sacred Ground and you get more damage, then use Fork of Lightning to instantly kill everything in front of you. At level 6 you'll get Arcanic Rune, which gives your arcane spells more damage, and hitting one enemy with an arcane spell conjures a rune of potency. This allows you to follow up near death enemies with Giant Brambles hit or a Light Nova if it's an elite that's about to stagger. At level 7 you'll get Fire Barrage, which adds 2 fire missiles per rune of potency to your fireball, making it hit harder or clean up fodder enemies on its way to its target. You can now choose between Fork of Lightning or Fireball, whichever best suits the enemies in front of you. If you're using Fireball, make sure you blink far away from the enemies so you can hit them at max distance for more damage while in your Sacred Ground. At level 8 you'll have Arcane Shield, which will put a shield around you for 2 seconds at legendary rarity after using an arcane spell. I picked this up because I'm about to enter chapter 3, and enemies in chapter 3 have more tick damage or multi-hit attacks that can make it hard to set up your Fork of Lightning. If you want to skip this, you can go straight on to Celestial Wrath or take Holy Fire for damage on your Light Nova. At level 9 you'll have Celestial Wrath, which will strike enemies with lightning whenever you click your trait, which should be often. For magical objects, Jack of Diamonds is really good, especially if you complete the set for 40% more crit chance on top of the 35% from your starting talent. Defense cooldown and charges are still great here and should be prioritized, but if you manage to stack 3 special charges, you'll have lightning strikes trigger every time you use a special, which is really enjoyable to watch. Now you can throw a fireball and also have lightning, or you can click a Fork of Lightning and also have lightning. If you get this, then Baylor's Eye is phenomenal, but Father Time's Hourglass is still a phenomenal choice. The last build, and my favorite of the 3, I'm calling the Stun Punch Wizard, which excels in constant stagger and burst AoE damage and high potency uptime. The core talents for this build in the order I would want to see them are Runic Might, Holy Fire, Sacred Strike, Grace of Heaven, Sacred Ground, Celestial Wrath, Freezing Stones, and Elemental Affinity. Right off the bat, defense cooldown and charges are crucial to this build, so if you see a rapid shaping and a grandiose shaping in your chapter 1 shop, this is a great time to try it. If you get the talents in this order, then at level 2 you will have Holy Fire, which adds damage to your Light Nova spell in an AoE and applies Ignite. It gets more damage from runes of potency. If you have a Sand of Enlightenment in your shop, then this is a great contender for that upgrade. At level 3 you will have Sacred Strike, which gives you a follow-up attack to your defense spells that adds a lot more damage and generates a rune of potency. So now you will use your trait, then Holy Fire in a camp for max stagger and damage, and then use Sacred Strike for more damage, and gaining a rune, allowing you to use Giant Brambles or Fork of Lightning to follow up and deal damage for a kill. At level 4, you'll take Grace of Heaven, and ideally you will have some defense cooldown or charges at this point for lower cooldown on your trait. At level 6, you will get Sacred Ground, but if you don't have a lot of defense charges or cooldown, then you would take Celestial Wrath instead here. I take Sacred Ground first if I have charges, so I can blink to a place with Sacred Ground, then Sacred Strike, then Holy Fire in the Sacred Ground, then Sacred Strike again. At level 7 with Celestial Wrath, I blink into a group of enemies, then trait for Celestial Wrath, then Holy Fire, then Sacred Strike. You're free to take whatever you want at level 8 and 9, and could possibly take Shooting Stars to proc vulnerable on enemies if you would like, but I like the idea of using Freezing Stones with Stone Shield after using Holy Fire to apply both Chill and Ignite to enemies, which allows for Elemental Affinity at level 9 to get 2 stacks of crit chance for both statuses. This is 56% crit chance on all abilities at Legendary if the enemy has both Chill and Ignite on them. With high defense cooldown and charges, enemies will not be able to move, as you will constantly be blinking, staggering, and killing with Holy Fire, and raining permanent lightning on them with Celestial Wrath. If you have enough defense charges and defense cooldown, then your combo is blink, then trait for Celestial Wrath, then defense with Holy Fire, then punch, then defense with Holy Fire, then punch, then defense with Holy Fire, and punch, and nothing moves. For magical objects, my new favorite, Moonstone, is phenomenal here, as it gives you 2 damage per Moonstone for every magical object or talent that refers to defense. I had a 5 stack of Moonstone give me 120 damage at the end of a run with this build. The super effect also gives 50% more damage to defense abilities, which works great on Holy Fire. For rares, you can take Ace of Spades, Golden Egg, or Cryptic Prophecy, which is helpful for getting rerolls that you might need for this build. Epics, you only really want defense charges and cooldown, priority on cooldown. Father Time's Hourglass is phenomenal here still, and Holy Grail for the constant healing on defense, and you get more Moonstone damage from this, so Holy Grail is really good as well. This is one of my favorite builds in the game currently. Now this last part of the video is going to be more casual. It is just going to be me talking about the talents and what I think about them individually. So thank you for watching if you're done here. If not, here are all my opinions on all these talents. Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Casual Ace, not the scripted formatted one. Wow, that was a long script. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how you enjoyed this video. This is just the end part. You're here to vibe now, talk about talents, see what you like. But I'd appreciate the feedback. I worked a lot on this video, getting the script done and everything. I played a lot of Ravenswatch when they sent me this, but I'm hyped. This guy is amazing. So starting talents, we have Runic Might. Quest, you have to do this 20 times. In combat, casting a spell that consumes 3 runes of potency, earns 0.5 damage, so you're gonna have 10 damage after this. Complete doing this action again, which you want to be doing all the time. You're gonna get 20% crit chance on your spell. That goes up to 35. If you look at the other starting talents, the only other like consistent choice that you might do is Astrology, where you gain 3 stars of fate at the very beginning of a run, and then future talents have 15% up to 45% chance of being rare or above. It's pretty good. Helps you get your builds. Some builds are harder to get, so this is like the standard choice. This is the I'm going to take this every time unless I want to do some gimmicky thing in case I really feel like I'm going to need the rerolls in this run. But this is the S tier. This is you take this every time. Now going on to Eternal Dream. Each time Merlin casts his 9 different spells, he gains 30 dream shards. That goes up to 60. Does not work within a safe zone or during a chapter boss. I will let you know, this is very possible. It takes about 30-ish seconds with the cast animations to do this. Like if you leave the camp and leave the starting zone and just do this and go through them, it takes about 30 seconds. That's a lot of money in a chapter. That is a lot of money in the chapter. I personally record videos where I try to talk to you about what I'm doing, where I try to go through a map and make things make sense. I am going to look like a schizo if I am constantly rotating my buttons at max efficiency, trying to get the most amount of money of this. I will probably never record a video with this. Or if I do, it is because you guys want me to and you want to see my brain implode on itself as I try to do this. I did an actual run, not that I recorded, not a full run, just a chapter 1 with this to see how it worked. I don't know the exact amount of money I got from it, but I had more than enough money to buy everything. What I do like about this is it trained me. It honestly was, after this run, I felt like I knew how to play Merlin. It trains you to rotate your abilities and use your abilities as you feel like you need them. It practices the muscle memory of like what ability is connected to what, because what makes sense, what do I still need to press. It's good for that. If you are using this at max efficiency, I think you are way too smart to be on this planet. If you are also playing the game efficiently while doing it. So it's like, get off this planet if you think this is the best thing in the game, because you're probably right, but you're too good for us. So that's my opinion. Trinity. This is really interesting. I also think this is how you get the hidden outfit spoilers. I'll try to put a big spoiler warning before I do this and cover this up. Spoilers, here's the hidden outfit. Okay, it reads Morgan's Blessing. Quest, collect Excalibur, Holy Grail, Father Time's Hourglass, 1 star of fate to gain 1 star of fate. And then also when you complete this, you gain 1 trait charge and all critical damage will increase by 40%. I did this in a run where I completed Trinity and I also did the chapter 3 side quest. I don't know if that's how you unlock it. That's what I would guess. Complete Trinity, do chapter 3 side quest. I'm assuming that's the unlock. I'll get off of that now. This goes up to 70%. 1 extra trait charge is good because of this ability and because of this ability and having traits constantly up. The main issue with this is you don't have a starting talent until probably the end of the game. One change I would love to see, and I don't know if they could do this in the game, I don't know how the seeding and stuff works, is if you click Trinity, every time you go to a reward where you have a chance at a legendary, I would like to see one of these 3 guaranteed. So if you do the Little Pigs quest, you're guaranteed to see Holy Grail, Father Time's Hourglass, or Excalibur. Not all 3, just one of them. If you take on the Mother Ghoul, you are guaranteed to see one of them. That way in chapter 2, you could finish your quest, guaranteed. Chapter 2 for a starting quest sounds pretty fair to me. The biggest issue with this is you might never complete this because you might never see this stuff. I also think you should get 1 star of fate each time you get one of these. It is currently, you complete this quest, you get this star, you get a star of fate. I think you should get 3, I think you should get 1 each time you complete this. The other reason why I think this quest is terrible is because in chapter 2, you might get the bird side quest, which takes forever, and you might have to do the bird side quest. Past deck, I love your guys' game design. I love the boss fight. The boss fight's actually really challenging. It's really cool. It takes way too long to get in there. You guys joked about the dev stream on like, hey, let Sinbad talk. Do not let Sinbad talk if you're going to add this into the game. He needs to talk faster. He needs to hustle up. If he's put fast walker boots on him, this is bad. This is bad. Never take this. Everyone boycott this. Okay, I'm joking. Wild magic. After casting a nature spell, one of your power spells, the next 3 attacks also project thorns, dealing 200% damage as bleed. That goes up to 350. I was thinking Merlin wouldn't have an attack build. I'm telling you, between these two, these are his only 2 like attack talents. This is an attack build. It goes stupid crazy. They actually made bleed do something. This bleed does something, especially if you Sacred Strike before you wild magic. It does something, and it does a lot. I like this talent a lot, but I only really tend to use it when I'm building into my power and I'm using these nature spells often. If you're not building into your power, the one nature spell that you're probably using is Stone Shield, which is a really, really good ability for an iframe, but I'm mainly using it for an iframe, so I'm not as focused on using wild magic. But in that build that I was talking about, it does stupid amounts of bleed. This is and you're gonna see Merlin has a lot of really good abilities. I think this is a great ability. Sacred Strike. After casting a sacred spell, one of your defense spells, one of these 3, which you'll be casting all the time if you are doing what I suggested and taking defense cooldown. Merlin's next attack will be a finisher that conjures a rune of potency if it hits an enemy and deals 320% more damage up to 560. This is also a lot of damage right off the bat. It's a lot of damage. With how Ace of Spades, I think Merlin is such a fun character with the Joker card. You can take an Ace of Spades, you can take a power, you can take a special and have all your abilities doing something, but especially a Ace of Spades and Jack of Diamonds, or Ace of Spades and King of Clubs. Like Ace of Spades, this is almost good in most builds. I wouldn't say every build, but it's good in most builds. There's also this ability right here, which hitting at least one enemy with an arcane spell, a special, generates a rune of potency. You want to do max casts for the most part, but you can just keep up like pretty constant good damage between this ability and this ability. And I've had a run where I wasn't always getting to 3, but I had a very short special cooldown and was constantly having high damage specials. So I like this ability a lot. Again, the main thing to consider is if you're using it after your defense abilities and you are going to take wild magic, make sure you are using a defense ability then a power ability so that Sacred Strike gets the bleed from wild magic. It's really important that you do that. Sacred Ground. I think this is a really good ability. I've suggested this, I think, in every one of the builds. After casting the Blink spell, again, I think you're going to be doing this often. A sacred area will appear on the ground for 5 seconds. All heroes inside the area gain 40 damage. This is a level 2. I'm telling you, this is still a good level 2. Like, use your trait, hit a spider with a fireball, level 2. I'm pretty sure this kills. Yeah, I don't know if it'll kill a spider at max potency, but it's damn near close to it. This goes up to 70. That's great damage. That's a Mad Hat. It's really easy to be in this all the time. Most, like you'll see in a lot of my runs, I'm in this all the time. Now, the tippity top S tier, like the most crucial talent to everything, is Grace of Heaven. Casting a sacred spell defense reduces trait cooldown by 7 seconds. It's the fact that you can like cycle this between combat, or like in combats, where you might do what I'm telling you, like dash and into a sacred ground, throw a fireball. If you have short defense cooldown, an enemy might be walking up onto you, you holy fire them, right? You have another defense charge, you dash away. You now have your trait active again. You can click your trait fireball again, or trait and go in with like a stone shield, because it's a spider that spawned a lot of spiders and you're gonna go kill the little spiders and stagger the big spider. Or say you got hurt leaving a camp, you pop your trait for max potency, then you use Blessing to heal yourself up. Blessing is now cooling down your trait already. So next camp you go into, you're going to have max potency. Like this is, if you see this at level 2 and you skip this, I'm going to be questioning you. This is amazing. Take this every time you see it. Fire Barrage, really good fire spell. So now my one thing between the abilities and what I think here, like this is your best ability. For bossing, both of these are good. I do think just Fork of Lightning is much better in the chapter 1 boss. In the chapter 1 boss, you can set up on a tentacle and still hit the boss with a Fork of Lightning. You could do a lot of damage to the boss before you even get into damage phase. With this max potency, it's It's pretty easy at max distance to just one-shot tentacles. Very, very good ability. The extra damage on it is really, really nice. Like this actually adds up, especially max potency. But I do think the lightning is just better generally earlier. Now, I do think the fireball is easier to get off. It's not as much as a commitment. So like chapter 3, when things are harder to commit to, I like the fireball a bit more than the lightning, even though lightning's still great. Arcane Shield. Casting an Arcane Shield special surrounds Merlin with protection that blocks any attack for 1.2 seconds up to 2 seconds. I think this is still a really good ability. It allows you to use your Forks of Lightning a lot easier, which, spoilers, is a really good lightning ability. One of the things when you're playing Merlin, you'll be going for a stone shield. For me, R2 circle. I will make the mistake of pressing circle R2 and casting Blessing. I am trying to cast Light Nova, where I press circle triangle. I accidentally press triangle circle and cast the Frost Orb. This will happen to you as you learn Merlin. Even me, like 20 something games deep with Merlin, I'm still doing this. I have accidentally casted Frost Orb so many times with Arcane Shield right when I'm about to take damage. And it keeps me alive, and I'm like, hey, cool. But like with Fireball, if you're doing a Fireball build, I don't think you need it because you're generally at a distance. If you're doing a Forked Lightning build, I would say take it every single time. It's really good. It's going to keep you alive. Bramble's Whirlwind. This is your premier power damage ability. If you're going power damage, Freezing Stones is good, but this is like what you're building around. When casting the Giant Bramble spell, Merlin makes the brambles spin around him, dealing up to 56% damage all around. Your brambles kind of hits in like this area, right? It does that. Now it's like, it's cool, right? It goes all the way around. It makes it really, really good. It makes you just wipe camps with what I said in the build, right? You blink into a sacred ground, stand in your sacred ground, hit the brambles. If you're level 3, if this is your level 2 and this is your level 3, you might just be clearing camps with this 40 extra damage in a Bramble Whirlwind. Really good ability. Natural Harmony. Hitting at least one enemy with a nature spell restores 8 health to all nearby heroes. The fact that it's all nearby heroes, I think, makes it better. You have Blessing, though. So, like, if you're playing solo, I find this really hard to take. Maybe if you're doing a 5 negative modifier run and you need more healing. You'll constantly be casting power spells, even if you're going special builds or defense builds, because Stone Shield is really good. It's one of your iframes that you should get used to. I don't think you need this though, just because Blessing exists. I find this to be, of his healing spells, of his healing abilities, it's a good healing ability, but he has an innate heal to his kit, so I don't think you need it. Arcane Rune, hitting at least one enemy with an arcane spell. Special conjures a rune of potency. Arcane spells deal 20% more damage. This is where I'm saying Joker card is really good. This is a decent ability on its own if you're going a power build, right, to get up potency. Say you're just having really bad luck with defense cooldown and stuff, and you haven't got Grace of Heaven, so you don't have your trait. This is decent for keeping up potency. The other thing is, say you have stacked 3 Joker cards, and you're 4 power cards deep, right, and you're mainly playing around this. And then you finish Joker cards, so you get the super effect from it, and then you see a Jack of Diamonds, and you're like, that's 25% more crit damage because I finished Joker card. Well, guess what? Now your special is, your Fireball is going insane. Like, your Fireball has 60% damage from the Joker card, and then 20% from that one Jack of Diamonds you picked up. So I think, and then 35% from this. I think this is pretty good. It's great in your special builds, take it in all your special builds, but I think it even works in your power builds, in your defense builds, because if you're not building into special, the main ability you're going to be using is Fireball. Sometimes Forked Lightning at like level 1 through 3, it's Fireball in the higher levels. This makes Fireball really, really good if you're doing a Joker card build. Lightning Storm, every 4 times Forked Lightning spell hits a nearby enemy, lightning will strike a nearby enemy, dealing 12 damage to 21. This number is kind of irrelevant to what level you are. This is a great level 2. This kills camps. This is great on bosses. It's better if you have clusters of enemies, because similar to something like Low Notes, where Low Notes can proc on multiple enemies and just make a cluster of things die, this does the same thing. It can also hit enemies pretty far away from you. You might be like lightning striking enemies here, and then that guy like over in Canada dies, and you're like, my bad. That's what free healthcare gets you or something. Starfall, I've rarely taken this ability. You can work it into, I find it's hard to work into power builds because Merlin's an interesting character on taking charges in your special and power. You do it, there's reasons why you should do it, but you don't need to do it as much as you want to take defense cooldown. and potentially cooldown on your abilities. Or not even, you don't even need to take cooldown. You take Father Time's Hourglass and you're just set, like that's all the cooldown you need, except for your defense, still take cooldown. If you're playing a power build and you have 2 power charges, I guess you can Shooting Stars, then Trait, and then Bramble Whirlwind. If you're playing a Fireball build, it's like maybe you Shooting Stars and then you blink out with Sacred Ground, another vulnerable, and you throw a Fireball in. There's use cases for it. I just haven't found the need. Maybe you're playing the Holy Fire build that I'm talking about, right? And you don't take Freezing Stone and Elemental Affinity, because I completely get that. And you take this instead, because it's just vulnerable right away. The stars are by far the thing I've clicked the least. They still do good damage. If you do a power build, like I remember I had one power build and I think you guys will see it. I had a power build where I'm just going insane with this. And I'm like, what are the stars doing? And I click the stars and it just kills everything. I'm like, okay, cool. Freezing Stones, I like this ability quite a lot. Stone Shield spells apply chills to all enemies hit, and the final explosion deals 40% more damage, up to 70. As I said in the beginning of the video, I think getting good with Freezing Stone, or getting good with Stone Shield, is core to getting good with Merlin. Like using this as a reactionary iframe is important, but also using it as an offensive iframe of I can engage the enemy just charging at them, and I don't have to worry about the damage incoming. I can run through it, then blink out, and then Fireball or Fork of Lightning. This is a lot of damage. It actually does a lot of damage. It says 30 damage all around. If you look at Brambles, it's like 50 damage. It does good damage when you give it a 70% buff. Holy Fire, I'm really interested to see what the community thinks on Holy Fire, because you take something like Explosive Blast on Pied Piper, and we're like, okay, thank you for my like wet noodle of a hit. It hits decently hard. This is 49 at Legendary, and I understand Bramble's base is 50, but this can get more potency. And with how I'm saying to play with defense cooldown and defense charges, this stagger value of things can't move as I'm doing damage. Trust me, if you are playing Merlin and you're like, oh, he's really good, he has all these abilities that I get to choose from, and then you realize I can put damage on another ability that's staggering everything, that's stopping animations, that's stopping damage from happening around me, and AoE kill things, it is so good. There have been so many like pig quests where I'm like a wood quest where I'm trying to defend the home. I Sand of Enlightenment this because I'm like, I have low defense cooldown. I could spam hit all this stuff in an area, prevent it from hitting the home. It's such a good ability. Don't sleep on it. I'm telling you, I love this thing. Elemental Affinity, I recommended it in this final build. I did that because I'm trying to give it some love. I've taken it once. All of Merlin's abilities have 16% crit chance on enemies affected by Ignite and Chilled. Both can stack. As I said, goes up to 56% if you have both of them. I like the idea of taking this and this and trying to make this work. We'll talk about this ability in a second, but like I like the idea of trying to make it work. I don't know if you necessarily need it though, because you have this, right? You already have 35%, which is quite a lot. And then if you finish the special or the power, you're going to get 40%, but this is on all abilities, so it's kind of cool, right? Just throw a fireball. Now you have 28% more crit chance. Frost Arcane. Whenever the Frost Orb is touched by Merlin's attack, it emits a blast, dealing 20 damage all around, up to 35. The first time I took this was the first attempt. I recorded this, but I wasn't in it. I wasn't talking, I just recorded it. I might do a voiceover. I took it in a 5 negative modifier run. I'm pretty sure it was a 5 negative modifier run. It was good in chapter 1. The issue with this is Merlin has so many things he wants to be doing at once that I can't imagine you're moving around your orb to punch your orb. The other thing is, where I think this could have a synergy, currently it doesn't. Where I think it could have a synergy, well, I mean, I guess it has synergies with this, right? When Frost Orb is touched by Merlin's attack, it emits a blast. If you could Sacred Strike this orb and all of this damage is put into the blast that you hit, and it counts for giving you a rune of potency, then I could see this being cool. If you could use a Frost Orb at max potency, so it's up for a while, use a defense ability to proc Sacred Strike, use a Bramble and have magic, wild magic, and then Sacred Strike with wild magic, this Frost Orb, and put all the attack damage into it and go big up and bleed blast. Then I'd be like, gimmicky still, but really cool. It doesn't do that. I believe it is special damage, which it still can hit really hard, but you're not chasing your orb around to attack it. That's just like the unfortunate thing about this ability. It's a cool, fun, gimmicky ability, but you're not doing that. Similar to this one, Retaliation, maybe I'm sleeping on this because it's a lot more damage than this, but it doesn't get potency upgrades. Potency just upgrades Blessing's regeneration. The Blessing spell also applies a 10 shield for 6 seconds to the hero. When this expires or is destroyed, deals a lot of damage. Like if you look at the difference, it's more than double. This is like Water Bubble, except Water Bubble, this is 10 shield and then some damage. Water Bubble is guaranteed 1 hit of damage that you can ignore no matter how much damage it is, and then it pops. So Water Bubble you can play into like, here's a knight doing a one-time slam, let it pop it. This is shield. You might still get fucked up. I cursed. I don't know if that hurts the video. I might bleep that. I don't want this video to do bad. Also, playing around this damage, Water Bubble, it's a much easier animation to read when it's going to pop and when it's not going to do damage, or like when it's going to do damage. This is a lot harder to tell when it's going to do damage. I haven't played with it too much. My current impression is it's not that great, but it could be decent. This is the most, oh god, this is the most, who cares about this ability? When in combat, Dash creates a seed that sprouts shortly after to restore 4 health points to the most heavily injured hero, up to 7. Now, I want to give Pastek credit. I have not played Merlin with 7 leak boots. That's too complicated for me right now. In my early days of Merlin, I might play him with 7 leak boots and be like, bro, I am laying my seed everywhere. He's not a dash build character. This is his only dash talent. I'm not going to dash build for healing. I don't know, I might be sleeping on this. Currently, I get pissed off when I see this. This is like seeing giant rats on Pied Piper where you're trying to play any other build. Celestial Wrath, this is goated. Trait triggers a lightning strike upon nearby enemies. Again, you want to have this and you want to have defense cooldown so you can spam this. This is goated though. Lightning strikes deal 80 damage and are stronger if fewer enemies are hit. That's such a cool addition because normally you're like, hey, I'm just upgrading the amount of enemies I'm hitting. Like how many enemies can it hit? If there's just a boss, this is doing a lot of damage. It's not doing 80 damage. It does a lot more damage. It's like a truck. You will also be able to spam this a lot. It's kind of cool with Trinity. You have 2 trait charges, but you'll be able to spam this a lot. You can also drive by enemies. You can just be like, hey, I'm going to pop my trait because I need more healing on blessings. Cook my trait, you're all dead. It's great for Philosopher's Stone and Hungry Grass and just orb farming because you literally just kill things as you go by them. Okay, now talking about the ultimate abilities. Energy Stone. For every, we have the stone that puts up, it like draws aggro and stuff, and it slowly loses health and then enemies damage it, and once it explodes, it deals damage. For every 10% of health loss, Standing Stone emits a blast of energy towards nearby enemy, doing 30 damage up to 52. It's cool, it's whatever. This one's just more fun to look at, so go this one. Megalithic Sight. Merlin now extracts 3 Standing Stones from the ground around him, each one dealing 80% damage when destroyed, up to 140. It's literally just 3 giant stones. Enemies just go attack 3 giant stones. It's so much more entertaining. Take this. Dark Swiftness. Dash can be held for 0.5 seconds to deal 60 damage through enemies past. You get to be the Witch Broom. You actually get the frick up Witch Broom. You get the frick up witches with the Witch Broom, which is pretty fun. You'll see me do this in a video at some point. If you are taking defense cooldown, like I have said, if you are taking defense charges and you have 3 defense charges, like I said, and you go defense, 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 and then hop on this broom. It's super fun. It's super fun. Now this is actually really cool because we have Raven Eye, which the super effective Raven Eye is 40% more damage on ultimate. Forbidden Spells. Ultimate deals 12% more damage per cursed magical object owned, up to 21% per curse. I haven't done this yet. I want this meteor to hit like a truck. I want to see it. What I want to try more than that is go a Philosopher's Stone build where I take every healing fountain there is, where I pick up every orb there is, where I take health from every grimoire, where I get my health as high as possible. Sacrifices health equivalent to 25% of maximum health, resulting in other heroes being revived. Nearby enemies take equivalent to 10 times the damage of health lost. I don't know how high I can get my health. I want to have 1,000 health and lose 750 health and then times that by 10 and do what, 7,500 and just kill a camp by seppuku or something, you know? I think that's a fun idea. But no, this is Corrupted Arts. It's pretty cool. I've generally taken this because I haven't ever had enough curses in a run that I felt like this was warranted. Yeah, dude, this guy, it's not power creep, it is fun creep. I think he's very strong. I think he's very powerful. I think most heroes in Ravenswatch are pretty powerful. The fun factor on this guy is unlike anything else. You will see a video where I am saying, I know Hades 2 won Action Game of the Year. What Pastech created with this character, the gameplay loop of some of these builds is the most fun I have ever had in a video game. He is incredibly fun and such a cool character. Thank you, Pastech, for sending me this early. I hope you guys appreciated this guide. I am going to be very, very busy coming up with school and potentially a job, and it's going to be harder to make videos. I will do my best. Thank you for all the support. I appreciate it so, so much. You guys have really helped keep my sanity for these past years as I've been in a job search and stuff, but I appreciate you. Thank you for watching. Leave a like button, subscribe. I said it at the very end, whatever. Love you guys. Peace. Bye.